Hello, happy Friday, happy full moon energy, happy Lionsgate portal, happy new Trecena. Welcome. Hello, sovereign lovers. My name is Vanessa, and I am here with your Trecena update for this new 13-day period in the Aztec or Mexica calendar. And so we're entering this new cycle called Ce Ocelotl or One Jaguar. And Jaguar energy is strong. It's very strong. It's very strong today, and it's going to be helping us navigate the next 13 days, which means we'll be navigating some shadows. Hi, Felixin. And so what is the Jaguar energy, and how can we call in the assistance of the Jaguar during these next 13 days? Now, we're in a really intense period right now. We have the yesterday was the full moon in Aquarius. We're on the tail end of the Lionsgate portal and a new Trecena in the sign of the Jaguar. So lots of heavy emotions, lots of shadow work is coming up. For me, I realized this morning I had some triggers with some past wounds that I was pretty confident that I had already worked through, but as the shadow does, it's hiding in the little corners. And it was really interesting to allow space for that to come up. So what are the qualities of the Jaguar? The Jaguar is patient. The Jaguar likes to stalk its prey, right? So it's the hunter. It's quiet. It's always observing. So this is a great time to call in the energy of the Jaguar to help you stay in observer mode. So be curious about the things that you're experiencing. Slow down and take a look and see what it has to show you. See what's hidden underneath the surface, right? When we're in complete darkness, we're able to tap in more to our other senses. And sometimes we need to tap into those other senses because we're so hyper-focused on what's out there that we're not really paying attention to what's inside, right? The Jaguar is lives in the caves, right? In Toltec and Aztec mythology, the Jaguar, it goes in the caves. When we go into our caves, we go into our inner energy fields, our inner dimensions. And so the Jaguar is a great guide to have for the next 13 days. A good way to really pay attention to your thoughts and bring them out into the light, right? Let them come out and play, let them explore. Danny has a really great habit of letting his egos have a voice. And so he'll outright say, oh, my ego just said this, or my ego wants to do that, or my ego thinks that. And it's a really beautiful practice because once you bring out those thoughts, you disarm them completely. It's harder to work through them when you don't speak them out loud. When you speak them out loud, you almost hear how ridiculous they are, and you're like, oh wow, that was really crazy. I can't believe I was thinking that. So this is a great time for you to really be paying attention to what's hidden underneath the surface. This morning, I was really upset. I've been learning to tap into my anger. I have a tendency to not get as angry. I try to wash over the anger and go into, okay, where's this anger coming from? Where was I hurt? And how can I process the hurt so that I don't have to be angry? And sometimes it's okay to be angry. Sometimes it's okay to let the anger come out. And so it was really interesting because this morning, the past couple of days, Danny had brought up, he actually had a dream that I had a lot of rage. And he asked me, he said, do you have a lot of rage? And I was like, I might, there are a lot of things in the past that hurt me that I never really processed so much the anger of. I processed the hurt, but not the anger. And I realized that I was raised to suppress emotions, to suppress negative emotions. And so I have a tendency of skipping past the anger and going straight to, okay, how can I empathize with the person that made me angry? How can I see things from their point of view? And it's second nature to me almost, but I'm still skipping and not honoring that anger. So today I had some anger, and Danny had a little bit of a hard time empathizing with it at first, and that triggered me even more, which made my anger get more intense. And by the time he had to go to work, and by the time he came home from work and we sat down and had a conversation about it, he asked, like, okay, so where's the anger coming from? And at first, my defense mechanisms wanted to point out all the ways in which other people had made me angry, all the ways in which other people had hurt me. And then I said, yes, there's anger because I was hurt. I don't feel safe. There's some PTSD here. And when you invalidated my feelings earlier, that got me even angrier. And I recognize that I still haven't healed from these parts when you used to invalidate my feelings. And so we become the hunters of the mind. We start to explore why we're feeling the way that we're feeling, what's underneath it, and how can we come to terms with it? How can we bring it out into the light? And we did, and I brought it out into the light, and he empathized with me and said, yeah, I understand why you felt angry about that. I understand why you felt angry today, why that triggered that anger from the past that hadn't been healed. And you had every right to be angry. And so we release it. And it's a beautiful practice once you get into the practice, into the habit of doing that. And like I said, the Jaguar is a great spirit animal to work with. For me, the Jaguar is not only my day sign in the Aztec calendar, but it's also my Nahual, my spirit animal in my sleep state. And so a lot of times I offer my shadow work to the Jaguar. I offer my troubles to the Jaguar. When I go to sleep, I set intentions and I ask the Jaguar to help me. And sometimes I'm able to see I have interesting dreams, and then once I process them, I'm like, oh, that was really cool. The Jaguar is showing me my subconscious mind, my subconscious thoughts, the things that are in there that I haven't had a chance to really look at, or that I haven't wanted to look at because it's a little bit scary sometimes. So these next 13 days, I invite you all to take a look deep into your subconscious. Take a look at what's underneath the comments that we make, what's underneath the walls that we put up. Why are we putting up the walls? Is there anger there? And what's underneath the anger too, right? What's underneath all of these behaviors? What's underneath the things that we're avoiding, right? It's a time of stalking our minds. Carlos Castañeda calls it the becoming the mind hunter, right? You become a hunter of the mind, and you start trying to see where the shadow is hiding, where the ego is hiding at times, and bring it out to play. And it doesn't have to be a fight. It doesn't have to be a war. It's simply come out to play. Let's see what you've got to say, my friend. And I am happy to make space for you. And as I said, once we give it a voice, once we let it explore, then it becomes easier going forward. You start to recognize its patterns. You start to recognize the ways in which it hides, the ways in which it tries to trick you into thinking that it's not up to anything. I'm good, and my ego is not acting up anymore. Sometimes it is. So I'm going to pull a couple of cards to help us navigate through these energies, and they're very interesting. First of all, I got the World. I'm trying to see if I can get... There we go. And here it is, right side up. It came up in reverse. So the World is usually the end of a cycle. And right now, with all of the energies present, with the Lionsgate portal, the full moon, a new Trecena, it's time to close out a cycle. It's usually the end, right? So this is an invitation to take stock into what things you've got hidden in there. What are some things that you haven't looked at, that you haven't processed yet, and that are ready to move on, right? There's this older woman here. Honestly, she kind of looks like my grandmother, like my maternal grandmother a little bit. I didn't know her. I didn't meet her, and we have very few pictures, but something about her presence reminds me a little bit of my grandmother. So our ancestors are always present with us. Our ancestors, we carry their presence and their energy in our DNA, right? In our subconscious thoughts also. There are a lot of things that we do as a result of how our ancestors did certain things, right? And we don't even realize it. Sometimes our parents do something, and so we learn to do it from our parents, but we don't realize that it came from our grandparents or our great-grandparents or great-great-great-grandparents, right? So our ancestors are always here helping us on this path, always helping us to complete these cycles. They want us to complete these cycles. This full moon was about closing out karmic cycles. And sometimes we have karmic cycles that are a result of our ancestors, our ancestral karmic cycles. So it's time to close them up. Call in your ancestors. When you're going through the darkness, call your ancestors for support. They are here for you. They are ready to help you. They have the wisdom, and you have the wisdom too. She has feathers in her hand. The feathers are a representation of wisdom. Sometimes when we went to Peru, our dear friend Carla, at the end of our trip to Peru, it really was like an initiation. That 10-day trip was a lot of work, and so she gave us these graduation feathers. I still have my feather, and they were a symbol of having traveled, having completed that journey. And so our ancestors have that wisdom. We carry that wisdom in our DNA. We carry that wisdom within. When we are willing to sit in the darkness, when we're willing to sit in the silence, in the quiet, go into our inner caves, we can tap into that inner wisdom, and our ancestors can help us close these cycles that are ready to be closed. Because it's time for a new age. It's time for new ways of thinking, new ways of operating. But we can only access those new ways when we're ready to let go of the old. The next card is Temperance, and it is in reverse. So Temperance is a balance card. See, there's the white, the light and the dark, and she looks like a butterfly here. It's a metamorphosis, right? We are in an age, we're also being invited to balance the energies, balance the light and the dark, balance the feminine and the masculine. I'm reading a book right now called Spirit Weaver by Saren Bertrand, and one of the beautiful things that I heard, she was talking about at a time when she was younger, and she didn't realize how much anger she had towards men. And at some point it was pointed out to her, like, wow, you really hate men. And not like accusing her, they were just like, in passing, it was like, oh yeah, probably like, oh yeah, because you hate men. Everybody knows that. And she was like, wow, I didn't realize how negatively I spoke of men. And she had to sit with that discomfort, sit with that feeling of, okay, I'm angry at this, I don't like that. And as she was going through all of these reasons why she didn't like men or why she didn't feel safe with men, she realized it was all internal. It was her own masculine that was wounded, and she had to heal that masculine, and she also had to heal that feminine, right? In order to attract that divine masculine, we have to be willing to be in our divine feminine as well. We can't be in our masculine energy and attract a masculine partner, because the energies are not in alignment, right? Here's the balance of the yin and the yang. The energies come together, they complement each other. And this is beyond gender. This is more of the energetic divine masculine and divine feminine within all of us. And we can't attract the balanced partner if we're not in balance ourselves. We can't attract a balanced future if we are not in balance ourselves. It's all the work within. So this is a time of asking that Jaguar, of asking ourselves, of going into our subconscious and finding the areas in which we are out of balance. Where are we out of alignment in our divine feminine or in our divine masculine? Are we trusting our intuition? Are we allowing ourselves to flow with the cycles of nature? And are we disciplined enough to continue the practices that are helping us come into that alignment, right? So there's a balance. We coexist in that balance of feminine and masculine energy. And the last card, we got all these cards in reverse today, lots of invitations, is the Nurturer of Cups, also in reverse. And this is what it looks like right side up. This is the Queen of Cups in the traditional tarot. And the Queen of Cups, cups represent our emotions, our emotional stability, our emotional bandwidth. And the Queen of Cups, the Nurturer of Cups, is all about how we operate within the waters of our emotions. In order to tap deep into our subconscious, we have to be willing to sit with the emotions, right? In order for me to deal with the trigger I was having today, I had to sit with the emotions. I had to sit with the anger. I had to sit with the pain, with the discomfort, and allow it to come forward. I had to allow myself to feel it. And sometimes we're so afraid of the negative feelings. I was recently talking to my best friend, and we were having a conversation about how sometimes we don't want to be uncomfortable. We are so afraid of being uncomfortable that we will put ourselves in uncomfortable situations over and over and over and over again, just to avoid feeling uncomfortable. And we don't realize that we are in our discomfort at all times when we don't allow it to simply be, when we don't allow it to come to the surface and sit with it. Okay, yeah, I'm uncomfortable. I don't like this. I don't like how I'm feeling. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling sad, and just get through it, because otherwise it's underneath the surface. It's always there. Our emotions, we can't really hide them or suppress them. The longer we suppress them, the more likely they're going to come out in other ways that are more destructive, that are more toxic, that are going to hurt other people, that are going to push people away. Sometimes when we feel unworthy and we suppress the feeling of unworthiness, we operate in ways in which we are trying to prove our worth to other people. And in doing so, we push those people away and then confirm to our egos that we are in fact unworthy. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So this is your invitation to sit with your emotions, to nurture your emotions, to allow them to come to the surface, to sit with them and say, I am here with you, anger. What do you have to show me? I'm here with you, sadness. What do you have to show me? How can I learn from this? How can I hold you? How can I nurture you? How can I honor you? Right? And when we allow that to happen, the feelings flow through us and we can release them. And that's the beauty of the Jaguar, right? The Jaguar goes through it. The Jaguar goes through the darkness, and it goes through those uncomfortable feelings. But once it goes through those feelings, now it can lead the way for other people. Right? You can hold space for other people because now you've been through that darkness. You can't hold space for someone in the darkness if you've never been there, if you've never allowed yourself to be there. So the Jaguar teaches us that there's nothing unsafe about the darkness, right? It's who we are. It's where we come from, right? It's the source of all life is in the darkness. Without the darkness, there is no light. Without death, there is no rebirth. And so when we start to align and understand that balance of those energies, we stop fearing the darkness and we can allow it to teach us the lessons that it's meant to teach us. So that is our message for these next 13 days. I hope that you tap into the energy of the Jaguar, that you become that mind hunter and free yourself. When you become that mind hunter, you are the one in control and not the mind, not the darkness, not the ego acting all out of control. You learn how to navigate the darkness. You know how to travel within the darkness, and it's not scary, and at that point there really is nothing to fear. So I hope that these energies you get to play in them, that you get to be curious with them and tap into them. And these next 13 days, as the different energies as the energies shift, as the energies change each day, right? Every day has its own energy. The Jaguar is still there to guide you, to remind you that all of nature is here to guide you, that all of nature is here to hold you, that the darkness is where we all come from. It is the source of life, so there's nothing to fear. And then we can face those subconscious thoughts and set ourselves free. So yeah, have an awesome time. Thank you for being here. I love you, and happy Trecena of the Jaguar. Bye-bye.